All right, welcome back to Lou's how-to videos. So we're going to talk about how to install Fedora. So again, use your favorite web search engine and browser and just type in Fedora Linux. You should get a website that says getfedora.org, or you can just type it over there. Again, here we can see they have a couple different flavors. So they have a Workstation server version and an IoT version. So just go ahead and we're going to go with Workstation. We're going to click download. And then here we can see, here we have the different flavors. So if we're pretty much using, again, I'm presuming you guys are running a Windows Intel machine. So we're going to go with the x86_64. So at the current time of this video, 36 is the normal version. So this is called a live ISO. So that means you would boot into a live Windows and then, or a live Linux, so it doesn't do anything to your computer, and then you could choose to install it if you want. So we're going to click download. Okay, once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and go to our Windows Explorer, and then it should be under downloads. There we go. You can see there's my Fedora. So I'm going to right click, cut. And here's one of the things that I recommend doing is make a new folder off the root of your drive. Call it ISO for ISOs. And then put your file in there. So this way when you're using VirtualBox, you have always a perfect place to go find it. So there we go. Now I'm going to launch VirtualBox. And then here, I'm just going to, again, just type in Fedora. And then based on that, it's already going to detect that it's Linux and it's running Fedora 64. Or if we choose something and it didn't, we could just go again, select Linux, and then just look for Fedora, and then we're going to hit next. Here's the minimum amount of memory, and depending on how much memory you have in your system, so if you have plenty, remember you don't want to hit the max. You want to save at least 2 gigs, especially if you're like me who have many tabs open. So I'm going to just put mine at 2 gigs. So I'm just going to go 248. Again, I can move the arrow. You can just type it in. So remember, if you're going 1 gig, 1 gig is 1024. So if you're going to go to 2, so that would be, times 2. So that would be 248. And then we're going to hit next. And then at this point here, it's just saying, hey, it recommends an 8 gig drive. That's the minimum specs. Okay. Here again, we can add, we're going to choose the middle choice. We're going to create because we're creating this from scratch. For some reason, we wanted to just run it as a live CD and not have a hard drive, then by all means, choose to do that. Or if you had an existing VM that you're going to import, then use the third option. 90% of the time, we are going to use the defaults for most of the stuff. So we're going to go with the default create. Here, again, we're using VirtualBox. We're not planning to move it anywhere else, so we're going to leave it with VirtualBox. And then here, dynamic and fixed. So the pro of dynamic is it only takes up the space that you're using. Where fixed, it takes a fixed amount. And I would recommend just using dynamic, so this way if you want to copy it, it doesn't take up as much space. As far as performance, yes. Is it a little bit of performance? Yes. Is it enough to notice? No, because if you're not using it like in, if you're using it as a lab environment, you're probably not going to notice it enough. So we're going to hit next. And here it just shows us how much space we have on our machine, how much. Again, since we're doing dynamic, we can always add a little more. So I just made mine 18. You could leave it, if you're planning to install some applications, it doesn't hurt. Then we're going to hit create. And there we go. We have our basic Fedora configuration. Now we're going to go ahead and modify it a little bit. So when we go to advanced, you can see under system, we have processor. You can see we have multiple cores. So why not give it more cores? It just gives it more performance. So there we go. I made it in the quad core. Another option is the network card. So I want to explain something here real quick. So there are basically three options I use. One is a NAT that's basically running behind a NAT router, bridged. So that means it gets the same IP address as your devices in your home network. And internal, if I was going to make like an example, I was going to practice like DHCP servers or something like that, I would use two NIC cards or use two VMs to practice that, and then I would make that internal so that way I wouldn't worry about the rest of my house getting it. Here's the thing, I have not tried in a long time, but if you have if you're on a laptop or a desktop that's a wireless connection, I do recommend you stay with NAT. It doesn't work very well with Bridge. I don't know in the recent years of the updates if it has. I've not really tried it, but so I'm on a wired connection, so I'm going to choose Bridge. But if you're on a wireless network that you're running the machine on, then yes, I would choose NAT. All right, and we're going to hit OK. And then we're going to hit Start. And then here we're going to hit the little folder because this is our first time doing it. So we're going to hit the folder. And then here it's going to show us all our virtual CDs that we have mounted. We have none. So we're going to click Add. And then the previous video, or in the beginning of the video when I showed you downloading it and I said, hey, this is the perfect, where you want to go is store it at the root. It just makes life easier. So now I can just go right here into my PC, into my ISO, and I know it'll always be there. So then I can just click choose and then start. And there we go. So now I'm just clicking in there. It's just asking, it's just letting me know what my mouse is going to be doing. Oh. So I don't recommend testing the media. So, let's get in here. So now I'm going to hit start. And there we go. Also, too, if you use the base mounted memory, sometimes you won't get a graphical interface when you're doing your install. All right, so I'm just going to make this large screen, make this little message go away, and now we should see the boot process starting up. We can see over in the top left-hand corner of the screen the cursor blinking, so that means that it's doing something. There we go. So here we're getting prompted to either try this or install this. So I'm going to choose install because I'm doing this in a VM. Now, if I was using this on a physical Windows machine already, I would do try just to kick the tires. But since I'm doing this in a VM, I might as well just install it. Because now the thing with trial is you can't update it, you can't install applications because it's running off of a CD. So here it says also it knows that we're in a virtual machine, so it knows that it's going to add the virtual guest add-ins too. Perfect. So there we go. And all right, now we're prompted by our language. All right, so by default, on my system, it's determining that I'm on English and United States English. Cool. If you want to change it, by all means, change it. And then we're going to hit continue. All right, so here it's going to say here we want to pick the hard drive. It's already selected here. So if we wanted to make changes or if we had other drives, we can select it. In this case, we only have one, so we're going to hit done. Now it's going to check it. And then here it automatically detect our time zone, so we are good. So now we can just hit begin, and this is going to basically bake at this point. All right, now that it's complete, we're going to go ahead and click on Restart or Finished. And now the other thing you have to remember is you need to shut the VM down, because if it reboots and asks you if you want to install or do a live, that means that the system has restarted and it booted off the CD and not the OS. All right, now go back into VirtualBox, going into the settings, going to storage, and then I'm selecting the CD and then clicking on it and saying remove the CD. So you can see that the CD is gone, and now I'm just starting the system back up. And then once the system loads, it's going to go back into finish setup mode where we're going to create our user account. And here we're just going to click setup, and then you can turn on your location, turn it off. I'm going to turn mine off and leave the other one on. And then I'm just going to hit next, and I'm going to go ahead and enable third party. Why not? Doesn't take a lot of resources to do it. And then here I'm going to skip my online accounts. And then here I'm just creating a user account and setting a unsecure password. Again, if you were setting this up, you'd want to use a secure password. All right, we're going to click done, and there we go. So now it's taking us it can take us a little quick tour. I'm just going to say no thanks for now, but I would recommend you guys to do it. And then here you can see there's the multiple desktops. Here I'm just launching Firefox just to see that it works. So there we go. And now I'm just closing that out, or attempting to anyways. And then here's a list of different apps that we have. And there I'm listing the configuration. So there's our configuration. We can see our network, our Bluetooth, and all our different tabs. I'm just kind of going through all of them here so you can quickly see some of the stuff. Now I'm going back to the activities. And then here you can see here's where we have calendar file. Here we have our apps. And then over here on the right is all our apps that need to be updated. So I'm just going to go ahead and click download. And then these are going to essentially update. So this would be like equivalent if I did it in the command line doing the yum space update space -y and hit an enter. This is the graphical way of doing it. The previous way I did it in class is the command line. All right. Well, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next how-to, or in class, or in office hours. All right.